Musicians, what if we've been doing social media completely wrong? Listen, it's understandable. There's so much different advice out there, kind of contradicting itself, flying in from so many different sources. It's difficult to know what to actually implement or what's actually solid advice or what's outdated, what used to work, all this kind of stuff, right? But we're not only doing it wrong. What if, in fact, we were doing it completely backwards? Right? It's not just like, oh, I'm doing the right thing. I just make a little tweak and I'm good. No, no, no. What if we were doing the complete backwards thing? I think I just had a hair fall into my retina. Oh, that's fun. Yeah, it just fell out. That's cool. So what we're going to be talking about is how do you flip the script? How do you go from, okay, I feel like I'm just jumbled on social media. I don't know exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. What's the purpose of social media in the context of a music business? Because we've all heard and know that we should be making content. But what's not clear is how that really serves our music business. What is the purpose of social media? And I'm here to tell you something kind of counterintuitive. Social media is not for followers. Most people think that it is. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you what the purpose of social media is for your music business and why most musicians are getting this wrong, and that's why their social media isn't really serving them. Because one thing I'll say before we just get locked in and jump into this is it's not about the views either, right? So let's talk about this. There's a misunderstanding that's happened when people say, listen, you need to build an audience. And we're like, yes, that makes sense to me. I know I need to build an audience. But what does that mean specifically on social media? This is where the trouble comes. We sit there and we go, okay, to build an audience on social media, I need to get a lot of followers. That's where the mistake happens. And I know it's such an easy mistake to make. We sort of glamorize followers. There's some social proof, and we get some also authority and credibility when we have a huge number for our followers, right? And we want those kind of things. But those are superficial. Those are vanity metrics, right? And when people talk about don't chase vanity metrics, that's what they're talking about. But there's this confusion. It's like, okay, so I need to grow my audience. So that would mean like followers, right? But don't pay attention to followers because they're vanity metrics. It's like, I don't understand what this means. It's because the frame is wrong. Because we think building an audience means building more followers. In my opinion, the audiences that we have on all of our social media platforms, they're not our audience. Well, Dax, they're not, well, they hit follow for me. So if they're not my audience, whose are they? They're the social media platform's audience. When you have a Facebook subscriber or a Facebook follower, that's Facebook's audience. We're just renting it. They just voluntarily kind of check out our page, but who owns the contact information of that person? The social media platform does. We don't own that stuff. So, in my opinion, our followers are not our audience because we don't own the contact information. If we owned the contact information, we had all their emails and their phone numbers and all that kind of stuff, then like, yeah, that's definitely our audience. We could reach out to them no matter what. If social media gets shut down tomorrow, it doesn't matter because they're our audience, right? We know how to reach out to them. That's not the case for 99.9% of musicians. It's such a prevailing problem in our industry that I really struggle sometimes because I want to talk about it, but I also know that if I titled this video, How to Have an Amazing Email List, which is not the subject matter of this video, but if I titled it that, I know not a lot of musicians would check it out because they think, email list, that's kind of old stuff. What? It is one of your most valuable pieces because that is your audience. When someone says you need to build your audience, that is what they're talking about. Okay? They're talking about having an email. They're having or a phone number that you can message. The SMS list and the email list are the two most powerful things that you can have inside of your music business because every social media platform could get shut down at once. But if they still have internet connection and a way to receive emails, you can still reach out to them. Or if you have their phone number, if they've got a phone signal, you can text or call them. I know calling is a little dramatic, but you could do it. If you have their address from any of their purchases, you could start sending them letters. Right? There's so many things that you could do because they're your audience now. But if they're just on social media, they're not your audience. You can't really do anything with that other than just like maybe send them a DM and say, hey, thanks for following. But like, we have to understand that the purpose of social media is not followers. It's to build an audience. But building an audience is not getting followers. It's turning people who consume your content, whether they be followers or not, into people who are onto your email list or onto your text SMS list. And another thing too, I think is an important part of your audience as a musician is your Spotify monthly. I would say your monthly listeners, but it's such a vague metric. Really, you would want to look at the more granular details of like who are the super fans that are consuming your music the most out of all of your subscribers, your followers on Spotify. You want to find out who are the super fans that are streaming me multiple times a day. That's the number. That's the real Spotify monthly listener that we want to go up, but we don't display that. Heck, there's even talks about removing that metric from public view. Like you could still probably view it inside of your Spotify for Artists and your metrics so you can track it and learn how you're improving or maybe going down, but they don't want it on the public profiles because there's an incentive, right? If there's an incentive to have a high monthly listener count, then people will pay for bots and they will pay for botted playlists and all this kind of stuff just so they could have that feeling of like, look at the validation that I can now kind of walk out and have when I talk to people like, yeah, I'm on Spotify. We got like 10,000, monthly listeners, even though that's mostly BS. Like that's what happens with a lot of artists. I know it sounds crazy for you watching this channel because if you're a returning subscriber, that you guys know that that's crazy. Why would you do that? But like, that's what happens. So we have to understand that what should I do now that I know that social media is for getting people onto my email list? Well, here's the next big mistake that musicians make in doing this. Number one, they don't understand that social media is mostly for cold traffic. It's for some of you guys are like, what do you mean cold traffic? Are they in Alaska? Why are they cold? No, in marketing terms, what that means is someone who is unaware of you or just kind of has a slight, you're kind of like, I've kind of heard that, but I don't really know anything about the person, right? That's someone who is a cold lead in marketing terms, right? So what we need to think of social media as is how do I find as many of those cold people that have never found me before and bring them in so we can warm them up. What does warming them up mean? That means they know you, they like you, they trust you. And that means, well, also, when I say know you and like you and trust you, that's the typical marketing phrases, but that means they know who you are as a musician and artist. They know about your music. They're listening to your music. They like it. They like you maybe even as a personality or as a person, right? Like that's where we're getting them. We're heating them up, right? We've hooked them in and we're heating them up a little bit now that they like us a little bit more. But that is not ultimately where we take them from cold to hot raving fan, at least the fastest in my opinion. You can do it, but on that game, it's a big volume game. You got to like really pound the content game out to get to that point where you build this like ravenous following, right? But for musicians, the fastest way to do this is to be able to cut through the noise, cut through the algorithm, because that's ultimately what you have to fight against if you try to go that route of doing a majority of the heating up of your lead, so to speak, through content. You're fighting against the algorithm. And so that's just a hard battle, right? Because you have to be very strategic and it could go your way, it could not go your way. But if you have their email and you have a structured kind of way that you can take them through things. Sorry, I got a musician calling me right now. He's a really cool dude. He owns a charity. It's for kids who don't have access to music equipment. So go check out Ron Ramsey. He's a cool dude. Sorry, dude, I can't answer the call. I'm helping musicians here, buddy. No, but okay. So the idea here is on social media, we have to figure out not just how to take them from like cold to hot, ravenous fan. That's a very hard game. I think the purpose of social media is to take people from cold to warm, okay? Now, what do we do as far as like, okay, what are the practical applications of doing that? Okay, we got the big picture. What do we do? So think about it like this. When you're making reels, okay, vertical video, you're making reels, the way that Instagram's algorithm is set up is going to push a majority of the audience to new subscribers, people, obviously not new subscribers, but new people that have not subscribed or followed yet. That's a very, very good piece of information to know, because sometimes people get afraid of posting reels, right? There's this whole like fear around content that still exists with a lot of musicians, I understand. So what happens is they get scared to make reels, so they just make posts. Well, here's the thing that they don't understand. Instagram's algorithm sets it up to where posts, by and large, go to your followers. So if you looked at your past a dozen posts, there may be some outliers, but I would care to bet that a majority of your reels went to Like if it was a 100% distribution, I would guarantee that it was more than 50% of people who saw that reel were not followers. And then if you flip it, if you look at your last 10 posts or last dozen posts, if you look at the distribution of each of those, I guarantee you'll see the opposite. You'll see it's more than 50% of it went to your existing followers and the smaller percentage went to new people. So knowing that information, we can leverage that. So that way we know, okay, when I'm really trying to reach my followers, make a post. That can be a very effective thing. Make a post. Okay, so then what can we do for to warm people up that are already followers? You can make stories. Stories are extremely valuable in this sense because if they're following you and you make a story or a post, they're probably going to see that stuff. Now they'll still see it if they're constant engagers and you make a reel and then they like it and like the post, they'll most likely get your reels too, right? So the more engaged fan base will still be following you around no matter what, but that's a good thing. So we look at this and we could say, okay, when I really want to try to reach a mass of new people, I got to start making a lot of reels, okay? Because that's where Instagram's algorithm is going to start pushing out a majority of my content. Now, I haven't done the same kind of test with like long form video and short form video on YouTube. Those could look a little bit different. I'm speaking specifically on Instagram, and I would assume on Facebook as well because they're both meta platforms. Now, knowing that, you can start to leverage it. Okay, when I want to post to my followers and the people who are already warm, posts and stories. If I want to start reaching some cold people who have never heard of me so I can bring them into the fold, start making more reels. So if you've been frustrated at your page's growth and you haven't been making reels, that might be your problem. As they say in Joe Dirt, it's not what you like, it's the consumer. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about in this video is pretty straightforward, which is social media should act like a pressure cooker. Now, there's some ways to enhance this, kind of take it to the next level without taking them off platform. Because we know taking someone from social media to an email list, sometimes there's friction. You're taking them off platform, basically, is what that means. You're taking them from, okay, now I'm on Instagram to now I got to go to this person's website and fill out my email and my name, and then I'm going to get it. Like, they're on a different path now. You got to like break them out of the inertia of being on a platform that they're just sitting there just going bam, 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 bam. They did this study, I forget the college, where they took a monkey's thumb and they bent it like 1,000 times in a row. Like, I think it may have been more, like 10,000 times in a row. And they just sat there and bent, and then they took it away. And so now the monkey's thumb is just like on a permanent, like it just can't stop doing this. So that's something that should kind of let you reflect on each of ourselves when we're going through social media. Like, I got monkey thumb. I gotta quit doing that. By the way, there's a super awesome band called Monkey Thumb. You guys should go check them out. If you like new metal style stuff, they're really cool. But like, you have to look at, that's the inertia that the people who are on social media, sitting on their toilet, sitting there whatever, or sitting on their couch. Maybe they're not on the toilet, but most likely. So they're sitting there doing that. You got to figure out, like, okay, it's going to be difficult for me to be like, hey, stop that inertia. Come over here to the email list and do all this kind of stuff. Now, it can be done if we're persuasive enough. I've done it hundreds upon thousands of times if you include my clients. But like, you have to look at it from the perspective of, okay, when I'm going out and I'm creating this heat, it's easier to kind of like increase the heat of the fan if I can keep them on platform, but I got to get them out of the regular feed. What can I do? Do I just DM them? That's kind of a way to do it, but what's a better way to do it? Well, there have been some artists who have been leveraging this strategy where you go from just regular Instagram feed, Instagram follower, to adding them to your close friends list. Now, some of you may have thought I was going to say broadcast channel. I've seen mixed results with broadcast channel. You can try that. Like in Facebook, I would do like a Facebook group. And the reason being is, God bless if you've been on Facebook anytime recently. Some of y'all are like, I don't mess with Facebook. That's like whatever. But hey, I like to be on every platform. But I'll tell you right now, man, Facebook, I'm not even going to crap talk Facebook. I'm not even going to go down that road. But you have to look at it like this. Facebook groups are going to send a message or send a notification to every person that's subscribed or following in the group every time something's posted in there. So it's a way that you can kind of cut through the algorithm and make sure that they're notified. But What I was going to say is that basically they're already getting tons of notifications from Facebook now that Facebook kind of like forces on you. And because they force it on you, they make it to where consumers are going to have to go to their settings to turn things off. And now there's a likelihood that they've turned off group notifications just because they got so tired of all the other notifications that are useless. So Facebook groups over time have seen a diminished impact. But Instagram Close Friends is a cool new way of doing it, because instead of thinking of like a group where I go into a thing and there's a feed of all this kind of stuff, it's just a way to reach out to a specific group of people, because you get that green ring, so they're only reaching out to their close friends, so that's specifically for you. And that can kind of be a little bit of a way to keep them on the platform, but give them stuff that is specific to them that will heat them up, and then we can now take them over to the email list. Maybe what you do is you have a lead magnet offer. So that's what we call when we're trying to get our fans' email, but we want to give them something in exchange for it. We don't want to just be like, drop your email in the comments or DM me your email. We want to give them some sort of, we'll call it an ethical bribe. Like, listen, I want your email, but if I give you this, will you give me your email? You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's a little exchange. It's like, listen, I don't want to just grab your email. I want to give you something good in return, right? So this could be like a free, if it's for a slightly warmer audience, you can do like free downloads of things. You could even do an offer, a small low ticket offer that's $5-10 or something. You might be able to hype that up and get people to want to consume that. But fundamentally what's happening is the heating up is happening on the platform still, but it's not just in your feed with posts and stories. It's happening in your close friends list. It's happening in your Facebook groups. Maybe you can try to create the same effect on your broadcast channel. I don't know about you guys, but I don't really subscribe to, like, I've done it for research, but I don't really follow up with anybody's broadcast channel. So you could say I'm not subscribed to any of them because I don't consume anything that's in any broadcast channel from any person that I really like and has one. But I have looked at those close friends stories. When those pop up on mine, I'm like, ooh, they've added me as a close friend. I want to see what they're trying to share with me. So you got to figure out, how do I cut through the noise so I can get them into my lists? So in my opinion, it's not done. The audience building is not completed until you've got their email or phone number. I'm just going to say it that way. Like, until you have that piece of information from that fan, I'm not going to say you don't have a fan, but you don't have an audience. You have a fan, but you don't have an audience. What do you mean, Dax? Well, and what I mean when I'm saying audience there is you don't have someone that you could readily reach out to at your own will and command. You have someone who likes your stuff and is trying to find it through the noise of social media, and sometimes gets blessed by the algorithm with posts by you and messages and stuff by you. So you have to look at it like that, right? We have to think, until I get that email, until I get that phone number or even address, I don't have an audience. Because guess what happens if some kind of cataclysmic thing happens at Meta and Facebook and Instagram go down like this? What happened to your precious audience? It went and it disappeared. If TikTok, they're going to ban it. What happens if it gets banned? What happens to all your TikTok followers? Gone. And you cannot get them back. Good luck if you've got like 100,000 people on any given platform. Good luck figuring out how to message all of those people to come follow you on your new account. Like, you may collect some people, but good luck, right? It's very, 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 very tough. So you have to look at things like kind of definitively. Until the building the audience is not completed until I get the email address. And as a little bonus thing, I did mention, I told you I'm going to start doing this. I'm going to start dropping some cool bonus stuff at the very end of these episodes so that you'd really want to watch. I should probably tease that in the beginning to get people to stick around. But you're getting rewarded with the cool stuff. So you may be thinking to yourself, okay, Dax, I see how I could take people from social media and get them into my email list, right? However, what about the monthly listeners on Spotify that you mentioned? How do I get those people into my email if I can't, like, post to them? Well, to get optimistic, Spotify has been slowly but surely trying to adapt itself into some kind of music social media. So who knows? We may have the ability to reach out to people on Spotify within the next 2 to 5 years, but that's optimistic. What I would count on instead is how you're getting people into Spotify to begin with, where Hopefully, some of you have heard of this strategy where you can run meta ads and you can have a pixel on a landing page. And so here's the magic of the pixel. You can do it without the pixel, but here's the magic of the pixel. It's like a cast iron skillet, okay? So you have this landing page where they can click on the Spotify button or the Apple Music button. Probably don't put any more than 2 buttons or you will give them analysis paralysis. Don't overwhelm them with choice. Just give them like Spotify and Apple Music, the 2 main people that people consume music from. So you've got the landing page, it's got the pixel, and it's got the 2 buttons, right? So what happens when Facebook, you're promoting through your ads and you get someone onto this landing page and they click that Spotify button and then they go consume your Spotify. Hopefully you drove it to a playlist, not just a song, but again, some additional game there. You want to make sure that you got that pixel because it's collecting data on the type of people who are clicking this button. And so Facebook can now go, let me go try to find more people like this profile that clicked. I can take all that information in because the pixel's here. Let me go check out what they're, other people that are just like that so I could send more of them here. And then the more people that click it, the more it seasons the skillet to send the right people to your Spotify. Now, there's some cool advantages to this. One, it's improving your ads as time goes on because it's seasoning it, right? But you have to be careful because if you put the wrong people in there, it's going to season it the bad way, and that pixel is going to become boo-boo. And you don't want, and you can't delete pixels. You'll just have to make a new one, and so that's annoying. So make sure you season it properly, so to speak. But then here's the bonus. You can use pixel data to create lookalike audiences. Now, a lookalike audience is going to allow you to say, hey, Facebook, or Meta, I should say, all the people that clicked on this pixel, I want you to create an audience that looks like all those kind of people so I can target more of those people. Now, what are you going to target them with now? More Spotify ads? No. Now we're going to start to target them with some offers that we can. Now, we can either do a free offer, maybe a free plus shipping offer if you want to get a little bit more technical with it. You do some kind of free offer, something very low ticket, easy entry for them. And now you've got them into your email list. And you say, hey, here's that cool free thing I got you. Or maybe that it's a free plus shipping. They paid the shipping. It's like, okay, that thing's going to be there in 2 to 5 weeks or whatever. That's a long time. 2 to 5 weeks. What is this, 1990? But it's going to be there in 2 to 5 business days. And be on the lookout for it. Then you can start taking them through a predetermined automated email sequence that you've built. And that email sequence is designed, in my opinion, this is where the pressure cooker takes someone from really warm to on fire, hot, ready to buy. So what you do is you take them through a sequence that now shows who you are, and it shows you, or shows them, I should say, what you've been through, the trials, the tribulations that you've gone through to get to this point, and we're positioning them through the emails for them to be on that side of you that's trying to make something happen, right? They're really trying to see you succeed. That's what they want because we've positioned the stories correctly through the emails. And then we have another offer. Except this offer maybe is a little bit more money. Maybe it's 15, maybe it's 25, maybe it's $50, right? And here's the reason that that's so effective. Number one, if you get someone in for free, it's most likely going to cost you, I don't know, $1.50 a person to get into the email list to $3.50 per person to get into the email list. So think about that. That can add up after a while. So you need to have a way to make more, excuse me, than $3.50 per person with the offer that you sell there. That's what we call in marketing a self-liquidating offer. Sounds fancy. What does that mean? All that means is my marketing cost to get the person into the email list is paid for by the profit I make when I sell them something in my email list, that first offer, right? So it costs me $1.50 per person to get them into the email list. And after X amount of days, I know that I'm going to make $2.50 per person that came through this list. So I have a spread of $1. I know I'm positive. So now I can run as many people as I can into the front of this because I know that I'm making more on the back end when they're actually going through the email sequences and buying than I am, spending to get them in the email sequence. Okay, so that's some additional game there because it's really impactful to figure out not only how to get people from organic into your email list, but if you can start figuring out the math arbitrage of that basically just means, leveraging a spread. You could say, I can distill it that way to not get complicated. You can leverage the fact that, it costs me $1.50 to get them in the email list, but I make $2.50 per person that go through this welcome sequence, or not the welcome sequence alone, but this whole sequence that we build out. We call that the EFG system. And so you take them through the EFG system and I'm going to make $2.50 per person. So how much money now can you spend to get people into the email list? The number is infinite because if I put in $2, if I put $2.50, it's going to be $5. It's doubled each time. Right now, here's the thing though. Sometimes it doesn't double. Sometimes it stays the same. And sometimes this cost just keeps going up and up and up and up and up and up and up to the point where now you're breaking even. Now it's like for every person that comes into the email list, it costs me $3 and I make $3 on the back end. Okay, well now you're breaking even. Some would say like, oh no. I would say this is still a good position. Do that until it starts to, now you're losing money, turn it off. But keep it at break even as long as you can, because think about that. You're getting people into your email list for free. Why do I say free? It costs $3 to get them in. They made $3 on the back end. Cancels itself out, right? So no profit, no loss. Cancels itself out. But you've got a new email list subscriber, right? So if you're at break even and you can just start, bam, 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 just get as many people in at break even as you can, then once the costs start to rise to where you're losing money, every time someone comes into the list, turn that thing off, right? Because now you're in a position. You've made enough money in the beginning so that the little tiny bit when it starts to not profit, it doesn't really affect how much you've made. You were breaking even, so you were getting people into your email list for free. And now you've got this list that's built up where they've came through and you've got some people who have bought, some people who haven't. But here's the beautiful thing. I'm just talking about a single sequence where they go from ad to email through the sequence one offer. There's no rule that says you can't tell a couple more stories and then make another offer. Tell a couple more stories, make another offer, and so on and so forth. So now the profit per person that comes in can get a lot higher. So hopefully that will get you guys excited about the possibilities. Once you get people into your email list and you actually have it set up properly, you can start making some decent money as a musician, right? Again, you're not a millionaire, but heck, it beats a freaking poke in the eye, I'll tell you that, right? So if you'd like some one-on-one help implementing this system that I talked about, the EFG system of building out your emails and figuring out how to drive people from content into this system, click the link that's in the description. There's an application link so that you can see if it's a good fit for us to help you out in your music business, and we'll determine that and give you kind of a roadmap forward. And then if you had some great epiphanies and great value from this video, make sure to hit the subscribe button, click the notification bell, all that kind of good YouTube-y stuff. And I make sure that you share this with people. Like, so many musicians are struggling with content and they don't understand these kind of things. And so it really helps out the channel, but it also helps out the music community because musicians are actually getting the education they need to start making some progress and not be confused about what the purpose of social media is. So thank you guys so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you guys on another video inside of Musicians Ignite. Take care.